From the very first second, everything changed. It happened on a cold, dusty afternoon when the abandoned factory at the edge of town echoed with the desperate footsteps of a terrified little girl stumbling in the darkness. She was bruised, trembling and alone, until a homeless boy named Aaron stepped into her path and made a split-second decision that would alter the fate of the entire town. What happened next became the kind of story whispered for years, a tale of courage, loyalty, and a vengeance that rolled like thunder across every street. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity rising at the most unexpected moments, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Aaron had always been invisible to the world. At just 12 years old, life had already carved more scars into him than most adults carried in a lifetime. He lived wherever he could, under staircases, behind dumpsters, in hollowed-out buildings. His clothes were always dirty, his feet often bare, but his eyes held a quiet strength. The townspeople rarely noticed him, except to move him out of their way or cross the street. He was used to the coldness, he was used to hunger. But nothing had prepared him for the moment a tiny, terrified girl sprinted toward him, covered in dust and fear, chased by two dangerous men whose shadows stretched long across the concrete floor. In that instant, every survival instinct Aaron had learned told him to run, but the girl grabbed his arm with trembling fingers, and something in her eyes, pure desperation, rooted him to the ground. She didn't need a hero, she needed hope. Aaron didn't even know her name, but he knew one thing: he wasn't going to let those men touch her. He grabbed her hand and ran. They darted through broken hallways, over shattered glass, slipping through cracks of sunlight as furious shouts echoed behind them. The scent of rust and dust filled their lungs as they pushed through the filthy corridors, racing toward the exit like their lives depended on it. Outside, the air slapped their faces. Aaron didn't stop until they reached the back alley beside the factory. The girl was crying softly, struggling to breathe. She finally managed to explain. She had been taken by the two men who had planned to use her as leverage against her father, a man known for leading a group no one dared cross, the Hells Angels of Ridgewater. She didn't know what they wanted, only that she had escaped when they argued, giving her a brief chance to run for her life. Aaron suddenly realized what kind of danger he had stepped into. These were not simple criminals. This was the kind of trouble that shattered bones and left warnings etched into skin. But he didn't let go of her hand. Aaron led her toward town, keeping to alleys and hidden paths, helping her climb fences and crawl under barriers even though his own legs were burning. By the time they reached the police station, the men chasing them were nowhere to be seen. Officers rushed out, recognizing the missing girl instantly, sweeping her into safety. But in the confusion, Aaron slipped away quietly, blending back into the shadows. He didn't want thanks. He didn't want attention. He was used to being unseen. But this time, someone saw him. Within an hour, the rumble of dozens of motorcycles thundered into town. The Hells Angels arrived, leather jackets, roaring engines, faces carved with fury. Their president, a large, intimidating man named Cole Maddox, stormed into the station as soon as he heard his daughter had been found. When he asked who had saved her, every officer pointed in the same direction. They didn't know his name, but they described him well enough. A barefoot boy, thin, dirty, too small to have done what he did. A hero hiding in the shadows. Cole's daughter woke up long enough to whisper, "He saved me." She remembered his soft, shaking hands pulling her up. She remembered how hard he fought to keep her moving. That was all Cole needed. Within minutes, the entire biker crew spread across Ridgewater like wolves hunting for one lost cub, not to harm, but to find and protect. Their search shook the whole town. People peeked through curtains, wondering why the most feared group in the region was demanding information about a child. Panic spread fast, rumors swirled. Nobody spoke up at first, because nobody really knew where Aaron stayed. He was a ghost drifting between corners of a town that never cared for him. But when they finally found him, curled up behind a grocery store, trying to warm himself near a vent, everything stopped. The roar of engines fell silent. The men who had scared entire counties now stood still, staring at a boy who looked too small to have done something so brave. Cole stepped forward and knelt. Aaron backed away on instinct, expecting anger or danger. Instead, Cole extended a hand, huge, scarred, gentle. Not a single word was exchanged, but the message was clear. Respect, gratitude, brotherhood. From that day, everything changed for Aaron. The Hell's Angels took him in, fed him, clothed him, and gave him the kind of protection he had never experienced. For the first time in years, he slept in a real bed. He wore clean clothes. He felt warmth, not just from blankets, but from belonging somewhere. And yet he had no idea that the real storm was coming. The men who had kidnapped Cole's daughter didn't disappear. They wanted revenge for losing their leverage, and word spread that they were planning something big. Tension rippled through the town like the tremor before an earthquake. Everyone sensed it. The showdown that was coming would not be quiet, and it would not be small. When the attackers finally returned at night, heavily armed and masked, the angels were ready. The fight that erupted outside the factory, the same place where Aaron had saved the girl, was fierce and explosive, a clash of loyalty and fury. But in that chaos, it was Aaron who noticed one of the men sneaking toward the back entrance, headed straight for the girl who had come to the scene with her father. Without thinking, without hesitating, Aaron charged at him. Just like before, fear didn't stop him. This time, he wasn't alone. The angels rushed in behind him, overwhelming the attackers. By dawn, the town was safe again, shaken but standing. And at the center of it all was the homeless boy who had once been invisible. If this story touched your heart or made you believe in courage, loyalty, or second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more people. Before the ending, here's a special request. Comment respect for Aaron if you believe heroes can come from anywhere. In the weeks that followed, Aaron was no longer known as the homeless boy. He became the boy who saved a daughter, the boy who changed a town, the boy who reminded everyone that bravery doesn't come from strength, it comes from heart. And sometimes, the smallest hand can save the biggest world.